What's going on, everyone? Glad you're here because today's story is a heavy one. It's about a man who finds out his pregnant wife betrayed him, and how it all unfolded. I'm 28 and my wife is 30. We've been together for a little over 4 years, married the whole time, and we have a sweet 3-year-old daughter. Life felt good on the outside, especially when last year we finally managed to buy our own place. But the process of actually getting the house nearly broke us. The lawyers we dealt with dragged us through endless paperwork, constantly asking for the same information over and over, and then disappearing for weeks at a time. We spent hours on hold just to get through to someone, and every time we finally did, they gave us a different answer than before. It was exhausting. Still, in the end we signed everything, got the keys, and moved into what we thought would be the perfect home to raise our little girl. Not long after settling in, my wife brought up wanting a second baby. We tried, but nothing happened right away. That worried her since conceiving our first daughter was almost immediate. I wasn't exactly pushing for another child so soon. I was still focused on finding a better job, so we could be financially secure. But she broke down when I suggested waiting, saying she was scared we might never have another child if we didn't try now. Seeing how much it meant to her, I agreed. Months passed, and then finally she became pregnant again. She was overjoyed, and I was happy for her too, but deep down I carried this heavy anxiety. 2 kids meant more responsibility, more expenses, and I knew my current career wouldn't cut it. So I threw myself into online training programs, late nights after work, studying anything I could to land a higher-paying role. She seemed supportive at first, but my focus on work and courses meant I wasn't as present. Most evenings I'd eat dinner with her and our daughter, then head upstairs to study. Slowly, without even noticing, we grew distant. We were still intimate, maybe once or twice a week, so I thought things were fine physically. But emotionally, there was a gap. About 3 months into her pregnancy, we had a talk. I admitted I felt like we'd lost some of our closeness and she agreed. We promised to make more effort for each other. From then on, she seemed lighter, happier even. She spoke often about how much she loved her coworkers, especially one man she kept bringing up in her stories. That's when things about her began to shift. She started spending more time glued to her phone, taking long baths every night, shaving regularly, putting on more makeup, moisturizing religiously. When I asked, she told me she was just trying to take better care of herself now that her body was changing with pregnancy. I accepted that explanation. It made sense that she'd want to feel confident while her belly grew. But little things didn't sit right with me. She'd stay late at work more often. She encouraged me to go upstairs to put our daughter to bed earlier than usual, almost like she wanted me out of the way. Still, I never doubted her loyalty. I trusted her completely. One day, out of nowhere, she asked if she could go visit an old school friend overnight. I thought nothing of it and told her it was fine, nice even, that she'd get to catch up. Not once did I consider she might be sneaking away to be with someone else. A week later, her mom came by. We got to talking about a friend of hers who was divorcing her husband after catching him cheating through messages on his phone. My mother-in-law and I both agreed we couldn't imagine ever snooping through our partner's phone, because if you reach that point, something's already broken. I glanced at my wife during that conversation and caught the briefest flash of fear on her face. It vanished instantly, but it was enough to plant a seed of suspicion in my head. That night, and over the following days, I started replaying everything. Her sudden changes, the phone, the late nights, her eagerness to be alone. For the first time, I considered she might be hiding something. But even then, I didn't want to believe it. One evening, when I went into the bedroom after she'd already gone to bed, her behavior struck me. She yanked the blanket all the way up to her chin the second I walked in, like I'd caught her in the middle of something. I asked if she was okay, made a little small talk, kissed her goodnight, then left. But at that moment, my alarms were blaring. Later, instead of studying like I usually did, I sat at my computer. I remembered the password she used when we first got together and tried it on her accounts. It worked. My heart sank as I opened her messages. What I found shattered me. There were explicit videos of her and another man, both pleasuring themselves and sending them back and forth. Dirty messages, flirtation, late-night exchanges, all of it happening while she was carrying our child. And I realized those nights, She'd told me she was tired and going to bed early. She was upstairs sending him those videos that I had been sitting at my desk studying after putting our little girl to sleep when everything crashed down on me. The messages I stumbled upon made it painfully clear. My wife had been sleeping with another man, not only at work but even inside our own home while I was away earning for us. To make matters worse, he wasn't just some young fling. He was nearly 20 years older than her, married himself, with 2 kids of his own. Reading further felt like knives cutting through me. She was giving herself to him in ways she never had with me. He would assign her daily tasks, what clothes to wear, how to behave, how to talk to him, and she seemed to thrive on it. She adored his control. She was the one pushing their affair forward, even arranging to sneak in moments with him by pretending to meet an old school friend. She spoke of not being able to stand being apart from him. Every word I read tore me open. I saved every message I could as proof, but there was no sleep for me that night. I curled up next to my daughter and just lay there, staring at the ceiling, crying silently. When morning came, she got ready for work. She put in more effort than usual, dressing up, cheerful, practically glowing, and I had to watch her walk out the door, knowing what I knew. I said nothing. My chest felt like it was being crushed, but I hadn't figured out what words to say yet. When my mother-in-law came later to pick up our daughter, I couldn't hold it in anymore. I broke down and told her the truth about what I had found. She was heartbroken for me, deeply disappointed in her daughter. That evening, when my wife returned home, she could see it in my eyes. I knew everything. I confronted her, demanded answers. Why had she done this? Was our baby even mine? Did she love this man? Was she planning to leave me? 1,000 questions poured out of me. At first, she avoided everything, her eyes glued to the floor as if she could disappear by refusing to answer. I begged her to actually speak. Finally, she admitted things had only escalated physically in the past week, which did match what I had seen in their messages. She insisted she didn't love him, that it was a stupid, reckless mistake, nothing more. She said she loved me still, that I had done nothing wrong, but life had grown dull, and she had been craving something to shake her out of monotony. She blamed hormones, claimed she hadn't been in a good place mentally. I walked out, overwhelmed, and called my own mother. She lived far away but listened patiently. She reminded me I had to think carefully about what came next, not only for myself but for our daughter and the unborn child too. I confessed to her that despite everything, I still loved my wife. I wanted our family to remain whole. I didn't want to throw away years together, and all we had built. That night, my wife stayed with our daughter at her mother's house so I could breathe. But I couldn't calm my mind. I missed her terribly. I called and told her so, and she admitted she missed me too. The following night, we slept together. It was raw, intense, almost like I was reclaiming something that had been stolen. For that brief moment, it felt as if nothing had happened. We agreed we still loved each other, and wanted to try. We knew it wouldn't be easy, that wounds like this don't vanish overnight, but I couldn't just give up. I told her the only condition I needed was her absolute honesty going forward. She assured me she had transferred to another office away from him. She claimed she had told him her family came first, and that they could not continue. He had questioned whether she truly meant it, and she had affirmed it. So life went on. At first, it was excruciating. I'd come home each day not knowing which version of myself would walk through the door. Sometimes seething, sometimes sobbing, sometimes numb. But I made changes. I studied less and spent more time beside her, watching shows, reading in the same room, getting up early to share mornings with her instead of staying in bed. Not because I needed to keep tabs on her, but because I realized this is what I wanted: normalcy, closeness, routine. I started working on myself too, going to the gym, eating better, taking care of my body and mind. We had ups and downs, moments of joy, moments of pain. We took our daughter out on little trips, played with her more, tried to bring light back into the house. Intimacy slowly returned, though cautiously. Her parents even gifted us a family trip to a spa, which gave us a short-lived taste of peace. Weeks passed and I began to believe maybe, just maybe, this could work. That we could claw something good out of this disaster. But then, out of nowhere, she mentioned she needed to go on a business trip. The timing was strange. On a day she usually wasn't even scheduled to work. Immediately, Alarm bells rang in my head. She also arranged for a friend to watch our daughter instead of asking her mother, which was unusual. I asked her straight out if she was planning to use this as a chance to see him again. She swore she wasn't, and to ease my suspicion, she gave me the exact time and place where she would be that day. I wanted to believe her. I wanted to trust. But deep down, the fear still gnawed at me. By this point, things actually seemed to be going a little better, though it was still very early in the aftermath. Only about 3 weeks since the discovery day. I went into work that morning expecting the usual dread, expecting to feel sick with worry, but strangely I didn't. For the first time since everything had blown up, I had what felt like a somewhat normal day. That small glimpse of normalcy made me think maybe there was hope. I had seen how much she claimed she wanted to stay with me, how upset she had been about her choices, and how in just a short span of time, I had begun to feel slightly lighter. I let myself believe her words. Around lunch, she called me. She said that some things at her job had been canceled, and she was heading home earlier than expected. Since she mentioned being near my workplace, I asked if she wanted to grab lunch together. She turned me down, saying her back was sore from the pregnancy. She was 5 months along at this point, and she just wanted to go home and rest. I accepted that explanation and went back to focusing on work. Later, when I got home, I asked how her day had gone. She casually said it had been boring, nothing out of the ordinary. We went to bed, but sometime in the middle of the night, I woke up restless. My mind kept circling around how strange it was that she had left work early and seemed vague about where she had been. To calm my racing thoughts, I picked up her phone and started looking. What I found showed that she hadn't been where she told me she was. She woke up to me moving around with nervous energy, and I confronted her. At first, she flat out denied seeing him again. But when I laid out the evidence, she finally admitted it. She said the two of them had only met to clear the air, that they both agreed it was over, and that their focus needed to be on their families. She claimed they had just talked about what had happened, and that it was closure, nothing more. According to her, she hadn't been speaking much with him at work since the truth had come out, and wanted to shut the door on everything. But I pointed out that she had created an elaborate story to hide it, lied straight to my face even when I had already figured things out, and still refused to admit it when I directly asked if she was meeting him. She finally explained that yes, she had gone to see him, but insisted she never went inside his place. She told me they had gone to a nearby cafe, grabbed coffee, and walked around the park just talking for an hour or two. I decided to test her. I pulled up a random photo of a cafe on my phone, one that was nowhere near where she said they were, and asked if that was the one she went to. She said yes, that was it. Another blatant lie. I told her that the cafe wasn't even close to where she claimed she had been, and she got defensive, saying I must not be paying attention. She insisted she was telling the truth, that it was all a blur, and that my so-called proof didn't mean anything. The next morning, I decided to give her one last chance to prove she was being honest. I asked her to send him a message along the lines of, "I feel much better about yesterday, thanks for talking." I explained that if his reply matched her story, something casual and harmless, it might help me believe her. But if his response hinted at intimacy or referenced anything sexual, then it would expose the truth. She flat out refused. When I tried to grab her phone from the bedside table, she snapped. She screamed, snatched it away, and started typing furiously. That alone felt like a confession to me. Eventually, she admitted that she lied again about where she had gone because she was afraid I would leave her if I knew the truth. That she still wanted to talk to him. This was just yesterday, and since then I've barely slept, maybe a total of an hour or two in the past 36 hours. We agreed she would stay at her mother's house tonight, but I'm left not knowing what to do. The situation feels unreal. She's pregnant with my child, and I'm almost completely certain it's mine, but the fact that she's still sneaking around with this guy is tearing me apart. My mind is wrecked. To be honest, I doubt she cut off contact with him at work the way she says she did. The only way to really put this to an end might be to file for divorce and have her served at her job. That would blow everything up and strip away the secrecy. His wife also deserves to know the truth, and so do our close friends and family. She can't be allowed to blame any of this on pregnancy hormones either. Filing doesn't mean it can't be withdrawn later, but it forces her to face what she's done and the consequences that come with it. And as for her story about walking around the park for a couple of hours while 5 months pregnant, that doesn't add up either. My own wife, when she was pregnant, couldn't manage that kind of thing, not comfortably. It's just another lie. At this point, I can't trust a single word that comes out of her mouth. She's still stuck in the affair fog, spinning excuses and half-truths. Nobody can make the decision for me about whether to leave or stay, but one thing is certain. I need a paternity test, both for the baby on the way and for the child once they're born. As painful as this all is, the reality is unavoidable. The woman I thought I knew, the wife I believed I had, isn't the person she presented herself to be. I feel destroyed.